upsets were the name of the game last weekend, especially in the men's division, where, listen to this, 7 teams in the top 10 were eliminated. Wow, including our number 1 team in America, the Creighton Blue Jays. Creighton was upset by Air Force. We have the story from John Glenn in Omaha.
From the day we got there until the day the 94 guys left, you know, that was a journey that it was a growing, building process that culminated, you know, in that year.
Once again, number 10, Scott McDonald.
You know, it's not about recruiting the top recruits throughout the country. It was about recruiting like-minded individuals that were really good, you know, at working hard and forming a team and being good people, and that showed, and we did well because of that.
That's it, Jeremy. Well, nice shot.
The program, traditionally, when there's been a pretty good-sized senior class, 6 or more, has had success. So when I was a freshman, it was a class of 91, big class, and we were good. And we were ranked in the top 10, top 5, and that kind of carried on. So I think some senior leadership, but not just the class of seniors, including everybody else. And I hope that the guys from 94 were able to do that with 97, 96, your class, Travis, and, you know, bring everyone together. But I think a big senior class was critical to it.
Come on, Nick. Come on, buddy. Come on. Yeah, Nick!
The class of 94 being a very, like, to your point, a very talented class, but it also had those other positions were covered by very talented guys at the right time. So it was a right mix at the right time, I think.
Take the ball. Yeah, Chris!
That run was not just marked by one event. It was marked by the entire season. From the first game, from the first practice, you could tell that everybody was in it to win it. And the camaraderie we had, all of the players we had, everybody wanted to be part of something special. And we knew that this was the team to do it. And what I remember the most is after every match, we would always know, just by looking at each other, that we would be closer and closer and closer to achieving that ultimate goal. We pummeled teams left and right, and it was great. It was nonstop, and I think other teams feared playing us because they knew we were going to go out for 90 minutes and just go into destroy mode, and that's what we tried to do every match.
I can only imagine looking at game films of us to other teams before, what the hell they were thinking when it comes to how are you going to stop these guys? Because the offensive side of our team, I know we play defense, but man, they were fun to watch. Whoever was doing the recruiting, especially for my class, I mean, just the numbers are pretty crazy when you look at folks like Toth and Jazwali and Gizmondi. Then you've got Villela, BB, Liller, Cullen. You know, you just sit there and you go, "Holy crap! We had a number of great players."
Yes! Yeah!
remember best is it literally coming together at the end. Years of foundation being built, not only for the 93 team, but the teams that came before us. And then the momentum that just came with us getting toward the end of the season, scoring a lot of goals, if I remember correctly, not losing at home. I think our last 2 years, we might have had a tie or two in there. And then suddenly we realized we were a really good team. But it wasn't a given that we were going to make the tournament, right? So we had to win a couple games, and we did do that. And then, if I'm not mistaken, I think we were on the road 5 weeks in a row, right? So I think that's definitely something that I remember. Cadet athletes are never happier than when they're gone, right? And then we were having success, right, to get into the tournament, to win our first game, to win our second game, to get to the Elite Eight. And so I felt like I don't remember a time when we had more cohesion as a team, more success, more confidence, and I think it was just part of, as you describe it, that run up to the Elite Eight.
Yeah, Johnny. Where is he? That's it, buddy. Oh, yeah.
So we have a great season. We do really well. We're in the Mountain Pacific Sports Federation. We're one of the top teams, and we make it to, the semifinals of the conference tournament. And we get there, and we just don't get the job done against Northridge. And we're wondering, is that going to be it? After all, a great season, having such a fantastic run that we had like 10 wins in a row in the middle of the season, and is it all lost? And we get a chance. We get a chance by getting an at-large bid, and we get a chance to go to the tournament. And of course, who do we draw? But we draw the number 1 ranked team in the country, 19-0-0, Creighton University, away at Creighton. So couldn't be much worse than that, probably, with the team we had. But that was the type of team we had. That was just like, that's what we almost wanted. We wanted to prove that Air Force soccer was more than just another run, just another team that was out there, but one that could get it done.
Yeah, 3!
First off, I remember sweating it out whether we were going to get in or not. Then when we did, we drew Creighton, and none of us were fazed about playing the number 1 team in the country, and I think that speaks about this team. Then, of course, I think everybody to a T who's spoken before me and after me are going to remember the Snow Bowl. What I remember in that game, besides the game winner and just the euphoria from that, was being huddled on a bus, freezing cold, toes frozen and everything else, and still pushing forward, really believing during our halftime speech that we were ultimately going to win.
Creighton's chance at an NCAA soccer title was lost in the snow at Tranquility Park Sunday afternoon in a 2-1 4-overtime loss to Air Force. Conditions made playing and officiating extremely difficult.
I remember the snow started getting thick. People were just, hitting the ball, not going anywhere, doing everything they can. We got lucky in a lot of places. They got lucky in a lot of places, and we ultimately put one away.
A combination of sleet and very wet snow made the field very slippery against a very aggressive Air Force team. Both teams struggled offensively. The wet turf turned cutting corners into casualties, while a 20-mile-per-hour wind made defending the north goal a luxury despite a single-digit wind chill.
I remember there was a secret weapon that the other team knew we didn't have, and we had the secret weapon, aka Rob Beam.
Coach told Fish to go in for 15 minutes and just run your ass off. And Fish was really in the story to us this weekend. I don't know if you heard it, where he's like, I had one goal, run for 15 minutes and get the defense tired, because they weren't, without Robbie starting, they weren't sure what to do.
He let me know that he did not like being the secret weapon, because that means he didn't start.
He was so freaking pissed, and Louis goes, he's gonna score. And he went and scored twice, right? So, and I don't know if Robbie ever thinks, maybe that was motivation, or it was like, if you coach, I went and scored, you should have started me anyway. Whichever way it would be, it worked out, right?
The Falcons scored the game's first goal 29 minutes and 45 seconds into the first half, when Rob Beam outdueled the Jays' Brent Peterson for the ball and the goal. A goal Creighton did not match until 1 minute and 56 seconds left in regulation. That's when Keith DeFeeney put the game into overtime with the Jays' only goal of the day. Now it took 2 overtimes plus 2 sudden death periods to finally end the Frozen feature when the Falcons beam found a seam to end the J season at 19-1.
It's hard in this weather. We were having just as much troubles trying to clear the ball out of the back, and I just happened to be there, and the ball was sitting there, and it was right player at the right time.
I tell you, with the boys that I've got, I know they've got heart, they have stamina, they have desire, and they want it, and I couldn't be coaching a better team.
That's high praise for a group of high-flying Falcons. For College Soccer Weekly, I'm John Glenn.
For me, that was the first time playing in front of a crowd that was not only big, but also up close and personal. And if you remember that orange netting type fence that they had to wall off, the crowd from the field, it wasn't a whole lot. It was like a screen door on a submarine. And so as soon as the ball, went up against that, man, you were subject to some pretty irate, I guess excited, Creighton fans, because they had such a good year.
And I remember Brian Giswali, I've never seen him so emphatically determined that we were going to win the game. Like, he was the guy that, I remember I was sick when we played that game, and I couldn't believe we were going to go to extra overtime. And he gave the pep talk, the Marty Buckley-like pep talk, that I think pushed us over the edge.
What did he say?
I don't remember what he said, but I'm certain it was filled with a lot of expletives, and he was confident that we could do it, and he was right.
That's I got some Italian in me, so I do have some passion. I remember getting up and giving that speech. Menel's the one that's got the photographic memory. I think he knows exactly what I've said. I think Coach Hill as well remembers. I don't actually remember the words. I'm not sure it would be PG even if I did at this point.
The first thing I remember is the locker room, how bad it hurt when we turned on those hot showers and all of the frostbite on our whole body finally was coming off. I remember that part. Was there champagne? I don't know if there was champagne there. I'm not sure.
I don't know where it came from, but there was a celebration in the locker room. And I'm not sure that the superintendent would have been happy about it in terms of what we were celebrating with, but somehow we celebrated in the locker room.
So my most enduring memory of that whole run is I had gotten on the field maybe for like 90 seconds. We were in that second or third overtime. I get on the field. I'm freezing. I'm thinking, God, please don't just fuck up. Please don't let me. And then he scored that, and I had fresh legs, and I was the guy that tackled him. You watch the tape, and Lillard, you can tell Lillard's tired. He's kind of lagging behind him, and I'm like, fresh legs, tackled Robbie, and like that's my best memory of that entire game.
With all the success the North Carolina Lady Tar Heels have had this year, it might be easy to overlook the men's team. But North Carolina has had a great season in its own right. And they had quite a matchup with Air Force. Air Force, of course, the team that upset previously #1 Creighton. And our man in Chapel Hill, Rick Sullivan, has the story on this game.
I remember being on sort of like hollowed soccer ground. It was a little bit intimidating, exciting at the same time, realizing like, hey, we've stepped up to the next level. That's what I really remember. Like we've made it, and we've stepped up to the next level to be playing against a team like this. Maybe at the time it was more the women's soccer program, Mia Hamm, but the men's team was obviously very respectable.
Then we traveled to North Carolina, and that was another big name, and we were like, you know what, we've got this. The team believed 100%. Really great efforts from everybody across the board.
It's just another team. The field size is the same. Let's just go.
A battle of underdogs here at Fetzer Field. Carolina, a victor over Duke in round one. Air Force, a winner over number one Creighton in round one.
Only the Air Force is the underdog in this game, but the Falcons don't play like they're overachievers. Gerald Fortuna puts the Air Force ahead with his head just 2 minutes and 6 seconds into the contest. The Air Force will threaten to score more goals in the first half, but nothing comes of the threats. Scott McDonald's rebound shot was one of the Falcons' best opportunities lost. Goalkeeper Dimitri Druin gets the save on this one. Offensively for Carolina, number 17 Hector Suarez goes down in the box. The Heels want a foul call. Then minutes later, his brother Timox Suarez goes down with a broken leg.
I think the moment everything turned is when our young right back made a great tackle, but unfortunately the other kid's leg broke. Right. It was a hard tackle, and unfortunately it just caught the guy in that awkward place, and that's what happens sometimes, unfortunately.
I remember Stratton's tackle on that kid. I'll never forget that. I mean, he just freaking laid him out.
Who can forget Johnny Stratton's tackle on that game? I mean, I think, I can still picture it and hear it almost in my mind, that tackle. And it was just the most incredible soccer moment I've witnessed. And sadly for the North Carolina player, I forget his name, but I remember that really well.
He just sort of chopped him as he was going by.
Yeah, take that.
I don't remember a lot of the game, but I unfortunately do remember the tackle that I had on my friend Timox Suarez, and I think it ended up breaking his leg, which I didn't want to do. I didn't feel like it was a cheap tackle at all, and then I was kind of became my reputation throughout my college experiences, being a leg breaker. I clearly didn't want that, but that's probably the biggest memory I have of that game, because he was a friend of mine. I played with him a lot growing up, and so I was sad to see that happen. My senior year, again, that reared its head. We played in a all-star game down in Florida at the end of the year, and so we were at like a team dinner or something, and everybody's sitting around the table, and T-Mock was like, "Hey, here comes Chopper, fucking breaking people's legs and all." So it never went over well. I don't think he ever got over it.
The shots are few and far between for Carolina because of the tough Air Force defense, but Greg Berhalter launches a 30-yard shot. It's nearly a goal, and he follows it later with one perfect shot in the final minute of the half. The score is tied at 1 heading into the break. A third Suarez brother, Victor, he nearly puts Carolina into the lead with his near goal. Meanwhile, Air Force trades shots with the Heels. Steven Sutsuma almost gets it in past Druin. Air Force does eventually score for a 2-1 win over Carolina.
I scored the game winner off a corner from Chris. I'll never forget that. It was probably the highlight of my soccer career. Pretty high. I remember the celebrations. I remember not believing we won. It was pretty cool.
Bergeron's goal, that was when it was a corner kick, and it was just, I think it just took everybody aback. It was surprised everybody.
Tough defense. I think that's what's gotten us here. We've concentrated on it from the beginning, and we knew they had a couple great forwards, and we just really did the best we could to neutralize their forwards and their attacking.
I felt it all along. We have the talent, we have the skill, we have the team, we have the coaching, we have the organization. We have it all, and no, I didn't think that we were the underdogs, but I like being the underdog.
I stopped filming. I think we were down like 3-0. I turned the camera off, and he goes, "Where's the tape?" I'm like, I turned off the camera. He goes like, "Why'd you do that?" Because I was like, I can't watch this.
I probably had the best strike of my Air Force career, and it was 0-0 at that point, so it was pretty early in the game, and I hit this thing from, I don't know, 25, 30 yards out, whatever it was. And it was going upper 90 on the left side as you're looking at the goal. And in fact, I had started to celebrate, and so had Cullen, who was right in front of me. And it was like out of nowhere comes their keeper to just tip it away. And I think to this day, you know, what if that had gone in? That may have been a huge turning point and maybe flip that game on its side.
It's funny. I was on the sideline when you made that shot, and I can remember going, holy shit, we're going to be up 1-0 in the first 10 minutes. Like, this is going to be I remember thinking this is going to be a rout, because I can see it clearly in my head.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't believe we're going to kill these guys too. And then, like you said, it would just be nothing, breakaway goal. And you're like, what the? It was just mind-numbing. You couldn't imagine what was going on.
Yeah.
And we go there, and it's rough, and it's rough early. And it was really rough early. You know, we get down pretty early, and I remember a guy hitting a shot from almost the sidelines, but he pinged it, and it surprised everybody, I think, on the field. It ends up going in near post on us, and they ended up getting up on us early, and we had to fight for it.
It was just so unlucky for us the way that went down, and I wish we could do that over and challenge that team better than we did on that given day. It wasn't the score. I mean, I think we outplayed them for probably 80% of that game. And if you could take away the first 10 minutes and the last 20, different ball game, you know?
Man, I just remember that crowd was brutal. And I guess, you know, they call it the graveyard or whatever, but I remember that they were close, and they were right up on us on the field, and they were loud and not nice in what they were saying. And I know Mental took a ton of spears during that game, and then it just got worse as we continued to give up goals.
It was all great until Pacheco got that red card, I remember, in the last match. Oh, wait, is that going to be edited?
I'm not sure what you're talking about. What happened?
Yeah, I remember there was a lot of consolation drinking. That's all I remember. And I think we were all just upset and confused. Like, nobody really processed. We lost to a good team, but we shouldn't have lost like we did. And I think we were probably all just trying to figure out what happened.
Taking a trip down to the graveyard, that was tough, but we went on a magical run, and I get to relive those moments about every year during our alumni gatherings, and people I haven't seen in 30 years, it was like yesterday when I last saw them. There aren't many things I would have done over at this institution. Soccer's one of them.
Back to the program that played a pivotal role in shaping them as individuals and as a team.
Chico, boys. Get your camera over. Well, boys.
You getting the film on this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You always say you're not going to remember the wins and losses, but you remember the people. And I remember vividly all of our teammates and those like funny little moments, or the way a guy John Stratton, for example, who in our hotel room would cover himself with every single pillow as he talked to his girlfriend. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so ridiculous. And I remember that stuff. But then also too, when you marry all these memories to these lifelong friendships that have been 30 years later, and you intermix those with people's wives and their kids and their parents, and as we all go through this thing called life 30 years later, I don't know that I go maybe 2 or 3 days without thinking about either a player or an experience or something that we did together. And I think that's the part that is so special. And it's awesome what we achieved on the field, but for me, the victory, or the part I take, is these 20 guys that I'm literally lifelong brothers with, and that's awesome.
Number one, I think we all got along great. We were great friends, and we all knew our roles, and we played to our strengths. That's what I would say. And we had some great players.
And we're all big personalities, right? There were no divas on that group, and there wasn't a lot of egos. And you hear those words, who's gonna chop the wood and carry the water? And as I remember, the way I remember, and maybe this is hindsight, and maybe I'm cut with rose-colored glasses, but everybody was really okay with whatever the job of the day was. Like, guys that weren't starters were completely like, okay, I'm coming off the bench. If I'm called, this is my moment, and this is what I'm gonna do great. Or if I'm a starter, I'm gonna do this. I mean, and I still remember before every match, whether you were starting or not, you would always come to, hey, Matty, 2 big saves a day. And as always, I remember that. I'm like, okay, so basically, hey, do your job, and maybe once or twice during the next 90 minutes, do something that is extraordinary. But if you do your job, we'll do our job, and we win. And we won a lot of games that way, and that was pretty cool. But I think probably the selflessness thing, and guys, just whatever it was, hey, this is what we have to do, we do. Like, hey, we have to run the 2 mile for fitness. All right, no one whined and complained. Oh, well, we did whine and complain, but we just did it anyway. And that's awesome. And I don't know, it's a special way, I don't know, special for people to get together and just have that common goal.
In a lot of teams, you'd find like the prime players, the 5 stars are the most difficult ones, right? But for our team, I think we were all blue collar, just hardworking, get it done kind of people. Nobody with a real attitude or standoff kind of way that you can sometimes find on teams. A lot of teams they're made up of the greatest talent in the world, but they can't find a way to win because they can't get out of their own way.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things to unpackage. The biggest thing for me was just the great group of guys and the closeness that we had. Ultimately, the sacrifices that we all put in for the common goal of winning. And I remember a couple of things on that journey towards the end. Just beautiful memories, great relationships, and really just the greatest thing that I can remember from my times at the Air Force Academy.
It goes back to those core values of these teams, I think, that go on and do special things with a collection of guys, is you stop playing for yourself and you play for each other. And I think when we were out there, we knew we had each other's backs and nobody was going to be able to beat us but ourselves.
You don't really know how special it is until you get more and more removed from it now 30 years. But I've always looked back on my academy time and just been incredibly grateful for the friendships and the memories and all of that. We would all argue that on some level it made us who we are as a person, as a man, as a husband, as a father. Those are all influences from those people, and I'm proud of that.
This commonality, this bond that we share, I'm going to kind of get tangential here, but my son went and played at Notre Dame. He was on the soccer team at Notre Dame. And I was just kind of getting a vibe. I mean, it was something that we have unique to just college soccer, or does that actually exist in other programs? And they have something similar, but they never shared those same experiences that we had that are unique only to a service academy, particularly the Air Force Academy.
The most intense bonds you ever had with guys in your life, and all you wanted to do was get away because of the environment surrounding you, which sort of speaks to why you become so bonded to these people, because you're like, God, I can't take any more of this from the AOC and my squadron commander. I just want to be down here.
When I think about the opportunity for us to gather 30 years later, and there's some guys that I haven't seen maybe since we last played on that team or when they graduated, but it is fascinating. It's literally like someone pressed pause 30 years ago and then just pressed unpause. Just the ease of who people are, and you fall right back in the same routines and the laughs and the jokes, and it's awesome. And we're all obviously in the same physical shape that we were 30 years ago, which I think is quite impressive that we've been able to maintain that level of fitness, commitment to excellence.
We all look a little different. We all sound the same. We're all telling the same stories, sharing the same memories, and it's beyond special.
To try and describe to my sons, like, hey, the things that you and I experience, they have no idea, they can't relate. But you and I can talk about these things, and these memories are fresh and very unique to us, very specific to us.
Down to the core, I think we were friends, and we were ready to back each other up. And I mean, it was chemistry. There was nobody on that group of players that was either disliked or was annoying at everybody. When we went out on the road, we hung out. we had fun. We watched freaking Major League. We did, whatever it was. As a group, there was nobody who was like, let's not invite this guy.
When we were leaving old Chicago's that last night, I got really emotional. And it was just, I think it was just seeing all these people. And there's this time in your life that is so incredibly intense, and you can't replicate. You can remember it and talk about it, but it's this time in your life when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, and you just can't replicate it.
The academy is exceptionally stressful to begin with. Throw Division I soccer on top of that, throw the pressures of success and doing well and trying to continue to increase that success. Through all that pressure, we were still able to have some pretty good outlets and create some bonds that obviously still exist based on what happened this weekend. It was pretty good.
There are intimate details of my personality and my life that people like you and Johnny Stratton and Rob Beam, Scott McCannell know, and have seen parts of me that maybe my wife and my kids will never see. And I don't think that's a bad thing, but just the intimacy and just the vulnerability. And that was, for that group, like, if I harken back to one of your earlier questions, the intimacy and willingness to be vulnerable with each other in pursuit of something, that part's pretty cool. You know what I mean? That for us to be able to be like, to really be that honest and open with each other, because that's what you have to do to come together to achieve these things. Like, it has to be such a trusting environment.
But it's not just the on-field stuff that we did. I think what is so special about this group of people, and somebody said, oh, that's expected. And I don't really think that's true. I think if you look at other teams, they didn't have the same kind of success as we had off the field, that they did on the field. And when you look at the accomplishments of the guys that kind of came through here and what they did, both military and civilian-wise, it's off the charts, And I think that just goes to the character of the folks and how special it was for us to take all these kind of type A, high-charging people and meld it and make it successful for a group. It's unreal.
Yeah, I've been part of good teams before, but this was another level of soccer. It was another level of friendships and bros and all that stuff that clearly became evident that I made a good decision and had the opportunity to go there. And it was like a family right from the get-go, all the way from Coach Sag to all the bros on the team, whether it was the shared experience at the academy or just a great group of guys that were excelling both in school and life and in soccer. Man, that was a fun thing to be a part of. Having that as a benchmark so early in my career, I always referred back to it, and then that was always what we were striving to achieve with each one of the teams. And they all took on a little bit different shape, but I think everybody had the same mentality and wanted to aspire to that same type of greatness that the 93 team had.
The funny story everybody's been telling about me bringing my family down and, missing the weekends up and coming for spring alumni weekend and bringing all the kids down. It meant that much to me that we brought the whole family out for that and let them experience that. I've got a kid playing college soccer, and I just think that meant a lot to her. And I think bringing this back, having had them up here and now getting to see this whole thing, is going to be really special for them too.
I just wanted him to know that it was important and it mattered, the time and effort that he put into his team and his people. I have handwritten letters from him, and those things, the phone calls and the time just as a coach that he spent with us, it mattered. And I have extremely fond memories of it. And I'm greatly appreciative of it because I feel like it had a huge influence on who I became, the career that I was able to have, and all those things. So, I'm very grateful for that. That 93 team in general was just an incredibly life-changing, kind of event that you didn't know at the time, but now 30 years removed has been very special.
I don't expect to ever find that again. And I think if I'm honest, maybe there's part of me that I hope I never do, because it makes it so special, So I don't know. That's cool.
I agree.
Ladies and gentlemen, John Liller.
Johnny Liller. What are you doing, Johnny?
Damn it, you can edit.
Yeah, right.
Hey, everybody.
Cut.